John Lee. I'm the Vice President and Head of Cell Therapy Manufacturing at the Center for Breakthrough Medicines in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania, just outside Philadelphia. CBM, the Center for Breakthrough Medicine, is a CDMO with true end-to-end capabilities that span from beginning to end. That is plasmid through vector, through the cell therapy manufacturing process. It includes process development all along the way, as well as downstream testing and analytical services, all under one roof, which really creates an advantage for folks who use our services because they don't need to necessarily align multiple service providers and instead get all that expertise under that singular roof. Cell therapy is a relatively new modality, and because of that, we've as a field, have been late to bring manufacturing capabilities online. The global pandemic certainly did not help. The pandemic used a lot of the capacity for viral vector to create vaccines in a much needed time. And the result of which has been downstream from that, a lot of bottlenecks in the world of cell therapy manufacturing. Earlier in June, there was a Stat News article that the executive team at CBM had read around patients who were dying while waiting for therapies. And these are not in small towns, but instead in large medical centers across the world. And the rationale that was provided by healthcare providers is that they just can't get enough manufacturing. And as a company whose mission is to accelerate the development and manufacturing of advanced cell therapies, we thought it was in our best interest to really accelerate some of the plans that we had for expansion to alleviate some of those bottlenecks and largely try to equilibrate that distribution network. Yeah, there are several that are facing all of us. Number one is capacity. Obviously, that's why we're talking. Capacity continues to be one of the constraints for cell therapy. Trained personnel to fill the capacity that we have. As I said, this is a relatively new modality, comparatively speaking. And so it's taking folks a while to get trained. And then, of course, supply chain considerations, right? There's plastics and stainless steel. And of course, there's been an ongoing chip shortage, all of which feed into equipment. There's a lot of equipment that we use that's advanced for cell therapy manufacturing. And the lead time on that equipment in some cases can be up to half a year to a year. So, there's quite a bit that stands in our way in terms of making these things. It's a great question. It's something that we get asked often. We're fortunate in that our location is literally the birthplace of cell and gene therapy, most of it emanating out of the University of Pennsylvania in the Philadelphia region. And so we have a direct conduit to a lot of the young talent that comes out of that institution, as well as nearby institutions. And we continue to be aggressive in recruiting from them, as well as internal training. There are quite a bit of burgeoning biotech companies in the area as well. And at present, we're not having major problems attracting talent, but we'll continue to pull all the levers we need to in order to really bring these folks in, get them trained, and ensure that we're producing cell therapies and gene therapies as efficiently and responsibly as possible. I don't think there's ever been a time where these types of facilities are more important. As we look at the current market conditions where capital is tight, and a lot of, especially the smaller innovator companies, are looking at make or buy decisions. The facilities like ours and others really allow for an alternative to allow that cash to go as far as it can for those smaller companies, so that they can really develop their pipeline in the most responsible fashion and get to clinical POC while they hopefully the market recovers. And from a selfish perspective, we really believe internally that the future of medicine is in the world of gene and cell therapy. There are just so many things that gene therapy and cell therapies can do when compared to small and large molecules. And, for that reason, we'll continue to make investments in this space, awaiting that clinical POC such that we'll be ready when the field really evolves past oncology and regenerative medicine into new indications. From a partnership perspective, obviously, internally, we're doing quite a bit around a digital roadmap to ensure that data is handled both securely, responsibly, but we also have downstream analytics to be able to facilitate the most robust partnerships with our clients. Likewise, supply chain partnerships with suppliers will continue to be important in the post-COVID era, to ensure timely and cost-effective procurements of the resources that we're going to need. From an external component, when we start talking about locally in this specific build out, right, the 1 million square feet facility, you can imagine this is a massive undertaking. And so what we're looking at is really leveraging the existing relationships we've had as part of the build outs in our current facility. So we've got engineers, strong ties with builders, project managers, and so forth to really leverage the learnings from our current build to streamline the subsequent build and the expansion that we've got planned as part of this. And, from a partnership perspective, as we think about our clients, the big thing there is to ensure that we're doing everything possible to get these life-saving treatments into patients first, but we'll also be looking for enabling technologies to really take us to the next step in terms of our capacity and ability to engineer advanced therapies cheaper, as well as faster and more efficiently. I think the most immediate thing you're going to see is increased capacity for both plasmid and vector manufacturing. Both of those will come out over the next few months of 2022. Our cell therapy manufacturing, GMP manufacturing capabilities will come online in early 2023. As we've already talked about, we'll continue to hire the best talent and build out that talent base to position ourselves for this expansion. And then, as I've also said, the strategic partnerships will be looking to really embrace partners who can get us to the next level. And specifically, areas of interest are around producer cell lines to really increase the efficiency of viral production, reducing the amount of time that it takes to harvest autologous cell therapies is of high interest to us. And then, of course, automation becomes a high priority item because the more human error we can reduce from the process, the better, not to mention how quickly that brings these things together. And, ultimately, the theme of what we're looking at from a strategy perspective is to really stay abreast or ahead of a rapidly evolving field such that down the line, as new things come online, we don't have to adjust, but we will be ready for them in an otherwise very rapidly evolving space.